So, a little about my background. I'm a tattoo artist. I did an apprenticeship in my first year of tattooing, have worked as a tattoo artist for 4 years now, and recently opened a studio. My family and I were invited to a wedding taking place in another state. My cousin, let's call him Matt, is getting married, and we received the invitation a few months ago. Time has moved forward, and now the wedding is in a week. Out of the blue, Matt texted me with something along the lines of, "You're going to tattoo me on my wedding day." I was a bit confused as I had never even thought of bringing my equipment, since I didn't plan a guest spot or anything. Editor's note: apparently, a guest spot is when a tattoo artist works at another studio for a few days or weeks, usually in a different area, to grow their clientele. I jokingly asked if he had a machine, still hoping he wasn't serious. He then just asked if I didn't have one already, saying that one machine wouldn't take up much space. I replied that I didn't plan on bringing my equipment, which includes more than just a machine, and that I'm not prepared to tattoo at a wedding, especially since I don't know anything about the space I would be working with. He then said he had planned on this, and that it would mean a lot to him to get a tattoo on his wedding day and that I'd be the one to tattoo him. Remember, this is the first time I'm hearing this. I again tried to explain that I don't feel comfortable with that, and it's quite short notice since I'm still working up until my brother and I fly over to attend the wedding. A tattoo needs to be designed first, right? He saw my message but didn't reply anymore. This morning, my mother called, and she was furious. She asked why I couldn't pull my crap together and just tattoo Matt. I told her what I had previously told Matt, but she didn't want to hear it. She just said it would mean a lot to her and Matt's family if I did it, and that it could be my wedding gift. Then she hung up. I talked to my brother about it, and he just shrugged it off and said, "It would be nice of you, though." I'm unsure what to do now. As I said, I'm not really comfortable with the whole situation, especially because I've never done a guest spot, so I never had to travel, let alone get on a plane, with my equipment. But is that just selfish? I mean, it would mean a lot to apparently everyone, and I'm just saying no? Edit. I do have an actual wedding gift already, as they sent out a wish list with their invitations. One of the items on the list was artwork because they recently moved into a bigger house and want random artwork to decorate. I spent several days oil painting a piece for them, so I don't plan to give him a voucher as a gift. To my knowledge, Matt has never had a tattoo before. I don't know what my mom's problem is with all of this. I think she just wants to keep the peace. Update 1. The last few hours have been a lot. First, I called my mom, and wow, she asked me again, this time very friendly, if I wanted to tattoo Matt at his wedding. Again, I said no, giving her all the reasons I'd previously given her plus some of the very good points you guys had. Before she could say anything else, I added that I felt like she didn't take me and my tattooing seriously. She didn't say anything for a bit, then tried to explain that she really thought it wasn't a big deal. I told her again that it is a big deal, and that she, of all people, should know how my job works. She agreed and apologized profusely. I then asked her if she'd like to attend and watch me work on a client's appointment, and to my surprise, she said yes. So Mom is tagging along tomorrow. Now, to Matt, or rather his bride, I finally got hold of the bride, let's say her name is Becky, and asked her about the request her fiancé confronted me with. She seemed surprised, as she had apparently heard from my aunt that I made them something for their new house. She assumed it would be a painting since I'm the artist of the family and it's known that I also paint. I confirmed that, but also mentioned that Matt had come forward with this out of the blue and that it's not a good idea for many reasons. She agreed with me immediately. I think she has some tattoos, so she understands. She thanked me for telling her, as no one else had. Becky seemed really mad but managed to pull herself together. I'm assuming Becky confronted Matt after our call, because only 3 to 4 hours later, I checked the family group chat, and there was a message from Becky, saying, "There will be no ceremony on the 13th as Matt and I decided we aren't getting married. Matt and I have things to figure out, so please text or call us tomorrow if you have questions." For the rest of the day, we'll be on flight mode. After dinner, Becky called me and apologized for Matt again. She said it was a stupid idea of his, and that he just thought it would be cool. She then informed me that she still wants me to fly over for the wedding day, as she will be hosting a party instead of a wedding. Everything is paid for anyway, and she doesn't want anything to go to waste. I asked if they broke up. Not yet, but I'm gonna stay at my sister's place until next week. I'm assuming Matt hasn't been too great, but I'm sure I'll hear about it. Apparently, my brother and my mom aren't invited, lol. My call must have been the last straw, but as far as I am concerned, Becky is handling it gracefully, and Matt will be okay too, I'm sure. So, I'm going to a party, but did I just make a new friend? Thanks everyone for having my back. Update 2. I'm finally done writing this. So, I'm back from everything, and there was some piping hot tea. But first, because a lot of you wanted to know how the Bring Your Mom to Work day was, I picked her up in the morning and we headed to the studio. I showed her around, told her a few background stories about some of the artworks and photos hanging on our walls, and explained my routine as I prepared everything. My client arrived, and I handled it like I usually would, just with my mom sitting there, lol. I explained every step of the process, and she also asked me questions about my ink, needles, technique, etc. It was a lot of fun having her around, and she really did surprise me with her openness and interest. When I was done with tattooing, my mother had to leave for work but thanked and hugged me for bringing her along. She not only enjoyed spending time with me but also loved seeing me do my job so professionally and said that she now sees my work and efforts. Now, to the unwedding party. The party started at 1400 hours since the ceremony was cancelled. I arrived and was immediately welcomed by Becky's sister. She hugged me and helped me with my painting. Everyone was outside, drinking and having a small bite already. I went to say hi to Becky, and she hugged me warmly. She seemed tired but otherwise fine. Becky was also smiling a lot, which surprised me. I went to mingle as I didn't want to start off by questioning her, lol. I met a lot of her friends, and apparently, most of them weren't too fond of Matt. I heard a few things about how he tried to change Becky to be more like his ex, and stuff like that. Not a great look there, Matt. Speaking of, not a single friend or relative of Matt was around, besides me and one other cousin. Later, as we sat down to eat, I asked if I could join Becky's table. They said yes, so I was sitting with Becky, her sister, and 3 of her friends. I introduced myself to one of them, as I hadn't talked to him before, and Becky added that I'm Matt's cousin, the one who was supposed to tattoo. A simultaneous O was shared from everyone. And with that, the conversation was about Matt from the get-go. I asked what happened. The sister just rolled her eyes and said, "What didn't?" Becky and her friends told me that a while ago, Matt apparently started to pick on Becky for being herself in various ways. It started small, like asking her to change her sports routine from workouts to only running. Then he criticized her cooking, as he preferred to eat more meat and something about being more traditional. They discussed these topics, and it always seemed fine, but he didn't stop. He asked her if she could let her hair grow or get extensions, and speaking of hair, if she could make it brighter. Becky has shoulder-length black hair. More and more seemed to pile up until he also started to make comments along the lines of, "Can't you be more like my ex?" As I understand it, he didn't say it specifically, but it was clear he meant it like that. I was shocked and asked why she didn't break up with him because of that, but Becky explained that in the situations, it didn't seem as bad as when you list those reasons. She had also made a few changes to make Matt happy but continued to do what she wanted most of the time. Time went on, and the issues resurfaced again and again in different ways. The last big fight was only a few weeks ago when Matt called Becky by his ex's name. They somehow settled this, so let's skip forward to when I called Becky about the tattoo idea. After our call, she went up to Matt and asked him why he didn't talk to her about it and why he would just decide to do something like that on their wedding day. He explained that he wanted to surprise her and stuff like that. Becky went on, telling him this wasn't happening and that she wanted to be able to enjoy the wedding and their honeymoon. Again, they seemed to agree in the end, and he apologized. But later, as Becky was starting to cook dinner and Matt was sitting at the counter, they talked about tattoos again, apparently a really chill discussion about tattoos in general. Becky asked him playfully what he intended on getting tattooed. He gestured across his chest and said, "I want my birth date, our wedding date, and your birth date, so X date, Y date, and Z date." Becky said she went blind for a millisecond. That third date was, in fact, not her birthday. She asked him again, and he repeated the same dates. She then said that this isn't her birth date. He persisted that it was and that she should stop trying to fool him. She said she started to cry and ran to get her purse to show him her driver's license. That's when his face slipped. He tried to get out of it by making excuses that he isn't good with dates, etc., but Becky just went straight to her phone and checked Facebook. She found his ex's profile showing her birthday. It was the date he would have gotten tattooed on his chest if I hadn't said no and also called Becky. My dumb cousin would have ended up with the birthday of his ex-girlfriend next to his wedding date. Becky said she more or less told him it was over and that this was enough. She immediately started reorganizing the whole wedding and honeymoon while kicking him out of the house. A bit later, she called me back. She also mentioned that she didn't want to say what happened on the phone because she thought I might tell my family, and she really didn't want to hear about it. Fair, I get that. Becky changed the honeymoon booking and is now taking her best friend. Also, if you're wondering, Becky's dad is currently the owner of their house, as they agreed to slowly pay him back. Due to his financial wealth and stability, this arrangement made more sense. As far as I know, Becky is going to stay there. Anyways, that's the tea. This was truly a wild ride, and I am pretty sure Becky and I are going to be good friends. We really hit it off. I don't have much respect left for Matt, so I'm not sure I'll keep in contact with him at all. Also, Becky loved my painting.